Welcome to the Internet Marketing Funnel Podcast. I'm David Bain. Hi, and welcome to the first ever edition of the Internet Marketing Funnel Podcast. We're going to start off today with the first of a six-part interview with Craig McGill, a specialist PR 2.0 consultant at BT Communications. Now, in this part of the interview, I ask Craig to tell us a little bit about his job role at BT, discuss whether or not relationships are still key when trying to arrange good PR, and the impact of RSS on PR. I start off though by asking Craig a little about his job role.
So at BT Communications, I'm a senior account manager.
Okay.
Obviously with a specialised interest in technology and how, to give it its much derided term at the moment, PR 2.0, is taking on the new websites and so on. That's very much my specialist area of interest, seeing how things on the web and other parts of technology can take what used to just be the humble press release and expand on it and deliver it in new ways.
Tell you what, could you begin by telling us a little bit about your own personal background and how you evolved into the current position you are today?
Yes, sure. Obviously, it started off like many a person in the PR sector, started off as a journalist, working for the likes of the Daily Mirror and the Sunday Mirror, and also worked on the technology section at the Guardian and the Scotsman throughout the years. And after reaching the news desk and being deputy news editor at the Daily Mirror in Scotland, I changed careers into public relations, because by that point in my career I'd seen that technology had obviously come a long way from the first Apple machine that I had back in the 90s, and with the internet and so on taking over to an extent. I mean, most people now, if you want information, you go to a company's website, and in particular, if there are press releases out there, that's where a lot of people now get information, even from a press point of view. So while there's often been derision about people going from journalism into PR, nowadays, thanks in part to modern technology, the job is practically identical. It's all about getting information out there, and I found that PR now allows for an incredible amount of detail to go out there, because press releases now are no longer just for the exclusive domain of a couple of journalists. Press releases have to be written as if they're being read by the mass market, in the same way that a newspaper story has to be written for the mass market. And what I've found is, in public relations at the moment, clients are willing to grasp these ideas and potential a lot more quicker than some newspapers were. That's not to put down the efforts of newspapers. Newspapers in the UK especially, and foremost Guardian Unlimited, have grasped the potential very well, but it's been a slow revolution for many of the others. Whereas I found that if you go to companies, you can say, let's try this, let's try that, and they're a lot more receptive to those ideas. I mean, one example I find quite funny is you still have some newspapers now advertising blogs as if they're the next big thing, and anyone at all in the know will tell you blogs are now practically passé. 2 years ago was their height, and now the cynicism has set in that they are just another marketing tool. That's not to say there's not a lot of good information still in blogs, but at the same time, they're not seen as the cutting edge as they once were.
Right, okay, so what would you say personally is the cutting edge at the moment?
I think at the moment you're still seeing a lot of people going to Facebook, Bebo, and these sort of sites, and that's, again, you can see companies are getting into it, and the tide again will turn shortly in that. What's the next big thing afterwards? I have to be quite honest and say I don't know. And there'll be a million people on the web who can happily speculate what the next big thing is. But I think the beauty is that very often people don't know. For example, 10 or so years ago, if someone had told you MP3 would be the music file format of choice, people would have scoffed. Yes, it was low compression, but it's not, as any good music lover will tell you, it's not the best digital sound that you get in it. It's a very flat digital sound, yet it's taken off in a way that no one else expected. Similarly, text messaging, even though it's not part of the web as such, no one predicted the success of that. A lot of people thought blogs would stay a niche product. People thought things like MySpace would be exclusively for teens. These things, you can't always predict what the next fancy or next big thing will be on the web. For example, I'm quite surprised. I think in the corporate sense, RSS is still to come and arrive in a big way, because while a lot of websites and blogs have got it, it hasn't been embraced at a corporate level, unlike blogs, which have been the corporate thing to adopt at the moment. So I think the next 6 months to a year, you'll see a lot more companies adopting RSS as a way of getting their message out there.
That's an interesting point, yes. And also, it makes it easier, the fact that RSS has been integrated as part of Internet Explorer 7, of course, as well, which is rolled up massively as well. So you certainly sound as if you've made the right move there. What made you choose the BT Group to move into?
BT have a fantastic reputation within the UK, and also when chatting to the senior team at BT, the likes of Gordon Beattie, Martin Crines, Lorna O'Donnell, Chris Gilmore, they grasp the potential that is there. Many PR companies pay lip service to the idea of what the web can do without actually seeing the complete ramifications of setting something up. BT very much have the proper approach. That impressed me anyway was that, okay, if you want technology to do something, then tell us how it works. Don't just say you've got this fantastic piece of tech that's now looking for a solution. Have the solution in place that the technology helps it. Because all too often you see, especially if you go to websites like the Register, there are a lot of people who say, oh, this is a great piece of tech, this is a great piece of software, this does this, this does that, but they haven't thought about its real world use. With BT, what they said was, yep, we'll do things, but we won't set up a MySpace for every client just because we can. At BT, they won't use the technology or the new ideas just for the sake of it to look flashy. It's got to fit in with what the customer wants and what benefits the customer will receive from that. And that was an ethos I quite like myself. It's something I particularly bond to, because I believe while there is a lot of wonderful technology out there, it has to be there for a reason and not just for the sake of it.
Okay. So would you say that relationships still are king, still is king within PR, or is technology taking over from that?
I think that the relationship still has to be there at all levels. Obviously, there has to be the relationship between customer and client. For example, it's one thing for me to spout, say, the wonders of an RSS feed, but if I can't have a good relationship with a client to explain to them the benefits of it, because ultimately, while many people, you doing something like an RSS feed or a podcast might be a no-brainer, again, if it's not something people are used to, they have to take that little leap of faith for the first time. And if you don't have a relationship of trust with someone, then it's going to be very difficult to convince them that it's worthwhile. And similarly, for the client to reach their customer, there has to be that trust of quality. You're not going to go and give up 7 or 8 minutes listening to a podcast, or go and play an interactive game, or start subscribing to their RSS feeds unless you know there's something of value there. And you have to have that relationship to understand that in the first place. Right. So the technology is there to supplement the relationship, not to replace it.
Well, that's the first part of the interview finished. In the second part, which you can download at internetmarketingfunnel.com, we discuss podcasting for PR and the impact of blogging.